Good morning. How is everyone? Good? Okay. It's just really good to be home. Um, Over the last couple days, I've been walking around, and it's just you're home when a vehicle pulls over and somebody gets out. How's it going? It's just the best of Rankin is been apparent here, and I hope for those of you who are new that this is the beginning of a long-term relationship with this amazing community. I grew up here. There's a picture over there. I started playing hockey at the Dome, a couple of arenas ago. We and are now in this amazing, modern, beautiful arena. I went to high school here at Nunavut. Played a lot of sports in the Kivalliq. We would always let Alved win at basketball. And I worked throughout high school for the Kivalliq Chamber of Commerce. It was the Kuwaitan Chamber of Commerce back then, with Allison, and it was it was an amazing opportunity to be in the business environment, I guess, in this region. Rankin's given me a lot of opportunities, and I'm really thankful to the entire community. I think Nancy yesterday spoke about people having their experiences recognized in a way that is helpful. I don't have a university degree. I don't have, because of growing up here, I've had a lot of interesting experiences that I'm incredibly thankful for. I'm in a spot right now, and I was telling somebody a few minutes ago, in some ways I feel like the Inuit Forrest Gump. I end up in these situations that feel very awkward and weird. But right now I'm the president of the Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency. This is a deputy minister position in the government of Canada. Part of my roles, I co-chair the Deputy Ministers Committee on the Arctic, and I take part in the National Security Council process, so a lot of Arctic security conversations and stuff. The theme this year is incredibly relevant, and it's kind of says a lot about the Kivalliq region, that we're thinking about the future once again, because we know we're on the precipice of some change. When I started in my job, I ended up in a national security briefing with the cabinet, and the head of the chief of defense staff started his presentation by saying, "Not since the creation of the DEW line has there been this much attention focused on the Arctic." And it's true. It's really, it's been an incredible few months and years. You have statements that the United States is making about Greenland. You have a really, very much it's in the center of the United States view for the future, having a stronger Arctic presence. You'll hear probably later on today about China having a really strong interest in the Arctic as a whole, but especially the Canadian Arctic, and having a significant presence here. What was really striking to me about hearing that statement, not since the creation of the DEW line has there been this much attention faced in the Arctic, was many of us were completely shaped by the DEW line construction. Families were moved around, people were brought in from the land to work in DEW line sites. It had a profound impact on the Arctic. And I think we need to recognize the impacts that these decisions have, as we're headed towards an increased Arctic security presence. Real people are affected, and it's real people who will who need to be the forefront of that conversation. So Canada is also changing. I don't know if anyone's seen the news recently. We have a new prime minister. And in many ways, this is a huge shift that the Canadian government is undertaking that we haven't seen in a long time. Overall, we've been asked in the federal public service to look at finding reductions of 15%. This is a huge, 15% sometimes doesn't sound like a lot, but this is a huge reduction. In the past, you've had, under Prime Minister Harper, we've seen reductions of 5, 3, 4, 5%. We haven't been tasked in the federal government to look at reductions like this since the early days of the Chrétien government. This is going to be a big impact on Nunavut because we're so dependent and reliant on federal transfers. We've also been asked to look at, really change how we look at spending. And I'm really happy to be here today because this is the front line of so many of the Prime Minister's agenda, I guess. We're trying to find ways to use government spending to unlock private sector investment. So it's not about putting money entirely from the government into things. It's like, what money can we spend that will allow banks or mining companies or other companies to come in and invest? And that's also a really big change in how governments operated from the past. We've had Rankin, Kivalliq is central to the ongoing conversation around projects of national interest. The Prime Minister announced the first 5 projects a few weeks ago and hinted at the next round that's coming probably before Christmas. And we've seen, the expectation that there will be national interest projects in this region. We've had conversation. I know Kivalliq Hydrofibers, Nukik's played a huge role in advancing a significant project in this region, and we're anticipating to have some news, I guess, on that in the federal budget. We've also had the Prime Minister announcing the creation of Build Canada Homes. And again, this is a significant change from what's happened in the past. In the past, perhaps we've had a meeting to have a process that will lead to a strategy that will lead towards the creation of homes. We are now being tasked with actually building houses right now. So you'll see a lot of investment coming related to actual construction. What could get built the quickest? What can get built in the most cost-effective manner? And for Nunavut, I believe it's 700 units that are expected in that first sort of tranche. What this means, I think, for this region is an incredible opportunity. I haven't been to all 16, but I've been to a lot of these trade shows. And what this trade show highlights in so many ways is what is going to be needed, I think, in the next few years. With massive federal cuts, I don't think we should sugarcoat it. There are massive federal cuts coming. There are massive changes in how projects are looked at, how investments are looked at. It's going to necessitate everyone kind of working together more closely. There's not going to be one single entity who can step in and really address some of the core needs. It's going to have to be Inuit organizations working with the government in Nunavut, working with the federal government, and putting money together to create an opportunity. But this region is really, really, really well posed to benefit, I think. We have the work that Agnico Eagle's been doing and the impact of mining in this region is going to be something that'll keep this economy strong and help this economy grow. It'll be an important part of the future for the Kivalliq region. The work that Nukik and Saku and others are doing around advancing a project of national interest will keep this region part of that national conversation and a lot of focus here. You will also have, the leadership that's been played by the Kivalliq around new ways to build, new ways of construction will keep this region definitely in the national focus. but it's not going to be easy. It just is going to be a difficult time for the next few years as we look at further reductions in expenditures. So what I love about this forum and this group is if you look around the room, it's going to be all of us kind of working together to make sure that our coming generations of young people have employment opportunities, educational opportunities. And I think there's a real opportunity here for that. I'm not feeling 100%, as you could tell. I've had a bit of a cold for a while, but I'll just leave it at that. And if there's any questions, you can pull me aside any time over the next day. Plain to me.